What happens when the most promising young man of a conquered nation is dragged to the most powerful, most corrupt, and most captivating city of the ancient world, and not only survives, but ends up governing from the inside? This is not a novel. This is Babylon. And this is Daniel. In the next few minutes, we're going to enter the city historians call the first megalopolis in history. A city where gardens hung over the roofs of palaces, where lions lived in royal pits, where magicians and astrologers controlled kings, and where a young Jew without land or army accomplished something no general or king could, remaining intact in the most tempting place in the world. 3 things you'll discover today that you probably didn't know. First, Babylon was so large that when Cyrus the Persian captured it, people living at the city's outskirts took days to learn they had been conquered. Second, the lion's den where Daniel was thrown was not an improvised dungeon. It was a royal institution with fed and trained lions, an execution chamber designed for spectacle. Third, Daniel served under 4 kings of 2 different empires for 70 years. That is not luck. That is a survival strategy no modern book has explained better. Stay to the end. What you discover about Babylon will change the way you read the book of Daniel forever. If you're new here, this channel explores the world the Bible doesn't explain to you. Subscribe now. The next video you watch might be exactly the one you needed. To understand Daniel, you first have to understand the world he was dragged into. Modern estimates, based on the German excavations of Robert Koldewey, begun in 1899, place Nebuchadnezzar II's Babylon at a surface area of at least 900 hectares within its inner walls. With suburbs, some estimates reach 2,500 hectares. For context, Rome, at the height of the 1st century AD, occupied approximately 1,400 hectares. Babylon was, in the 6th century BC, probably the largest city on Earth. The Greek historian Herodotus, who visited it in the 5th century BC, described its walls with astonishment. 87 kilometers of perimeter, 15 meters thick, 80 meters high, wide enough for 2 4-horse chariots to pass each other on top without touching. Modern archaeologists have calibrated these figures downward. But even at its real dimensions, Babylon's wall was one of the most imposing structures of antiquity. The main entrance to Babylon was the Ishtar Gate, dedicated to the goddess of love and war, built by Nebuchadnezzar II around 575 BC, exactly the period when Daniel lived in the city. It was a structure of intensely blue glazed brick, decorated with alternating rows of bulls and dragons, in relief in brilliant yellow and white on a lapis lazuli background. The original gate was excavated and reconstructed in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, where you can visit it today. Its original height was 14 meters, the processional way that preceded it. The Sacred Way of Babylon was flanked by walls covered with roaring lions in relief. More than 120 lions on each side of the road. Imagine Daniel, young, perhaps 14 or 16 years old, being led down that road as a captive. Roaring lions on both sides. The blue gate like the sky before him. The smell of spices, incense, dung, and crowds. The noise of a city of tens of thousands of people. That was his first day in Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar II's main palace was a complex spanning more than 6 hectares. Excavations have revealed the main throne hall, 52 meters long by 17 wide, with walls of glazed brick decorated with palms and lions. This is the hall where, according to Daniel 5, King Belshazzar held the famous banquet during which the writing appeared on the wall. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, if they existed, were part of this palace complex. Ancient sources describe them as a terraced, stepped construction with a mechanical system for elevating water to irrigate them. If they existed in Babylon, Daniel would have seen them every day. Gardens in a flat desert. Green hanging in the sky over the plain of Mesopotamia. When Nebuchadnezzar conquered Jerusalem in 605 BC, he did not take the captives as mine or field slaves. He had a smarter and more dangerous plan. Daniel chapter 1 describes it with a precision that modern political science scholars find striking. The king ordered that young men of the royal family and nobility be chosen. to be taught the literature and language of the Chaldeans. This is a forced assimilation program of remarkable sophistication. You take the intellectual elite of the conquered people, integrate them into your educational and bureaucratic system, change their names. Daniel was given the name Belteshazzar. His friends became Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and you turn them into imperial officials. It was a brilliant strategy, and it almost worked. Daniel's first battle in Babylon was not with lions or kings. It was with food. Daniel 1-8 says that Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the king's food or with the wine he drank. The royal Babylonian food would have included meat sacrificed to the gods, ritually impure for a practicing Jew. Eating that food was not just violating dietary law. It was symbolically accepting the sovereignty of the gods of Babylon over the God of Israel. Daniel's strategy was remarkable for its tactical intelligence. He didn't confront the system directly. He asked permission for an experiment. Let us eat only vegetables and drink water for 10 days, and compare our appearance with that of those who eat the king's food. The result was so positive that the official accepted the permanent arrangement. Daniel had won the first battle without creating a conflict. If this video is showing you a Daniel you didn't know, leave your like now. And if you know someone who needs to see this, share it. Daniel's first major crisis came with Nebuchadnezzar's dream. The king had a disturbing dream, and when he summoned his magicians and astrologers, he imposed an impossible condition. They not only had to interpret the dream, they had to tell him first what its content was, without him telling them. No divination system in the ancient world could do that. Nebuchadnezzar ordered all the wise men of Babylon to be executed. Daniel and his friends were included in that category. What Daniel did next is one of the most revealing decisions in the book. He asked the king for time, promised he would give him the interpretation, and went to pray. Daniel 2 describes the colossal statue. Head of gold, chest of silver, belly of bronze, legs of iron, feet of iron and clay, and the stone that destroys it. It is one of the most debated prophetic texts in the Bible. And Daniel interpreted it before the most powerful king in the world without flinching. Babylon was not a secular state. It was a theocracy in the most literal sense. The city was literally the property of the god Marduk, king of the Babylonian gods. The king of Babylon was Marduk's representative on earth. The main temple of Marduk, the Esagila, was the spiritual and political heart of the city. Alongside the Esagila rose the Etemenanki, the biblical Tower of Babel, a ziggurat of 7 stories, reaching approximately 90 meters in height. Its name in Sumerian means the house that is the foundation of heaven and earth. Daniel lived in the shadow of this building every day, a young man who worshipped the invisible God, surrounded by monuments to the most powerful God of the visible world. Daniel chapter 3 describes one of the most elaborate acts of political propaganda in the ancient world. Nebuchadnezzar had a gold statue made approximately 27 meters high and installed it on the plain of Dura. All governors, captains, and officials of the provinces had to bow before it at the sound of an official orchestra, under penalty of death, in a furnace of fire. It was an imperial loyalty oath expressed in religious language. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel's friends, refused. Their response to the king in Daniel 3:17, 1:8 is one of the most audacious texts in all the Bible. Our God is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, or worship the golden image that you have set up. Those 3 words, but if not, are theologically explosive. It is not, we trust God will rescue us. It is, even if he doesn't rescue us, our answer is the same. The magicians of Babylon, the Kasdim, or Chaldeans, were high-ranking intellectuals, trained in astronomy, mathematics, medicine, divination, and religious ritual. Cuneiform tablets show sophisticated astronomical knowledge. The Babylonians predicted eclipses and had developed a positional numeral system that is the direct ancestor of modern mathematics. Daniel competed with these men and repeatedly surpassed them. Daniel 1:20 says the king found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his entire kingdom. 10 times is a Hebrew idiomatic expression for incomparably superior. Daniel didn't win on their field using their tools. He won using sources they had no access to. The Belshazzar of Daniel is not Nebuchadnezzar. There are decades between the two. The historical Babylonian record shows that Belshazzar was the son of King Nabonidus, who had delegated the actual governance of Babylon to his son while he resided at the oasis of Tema in Arabia. This explains why Belshazzar offers Daniel third place in the kingdom, not second. First was Nabonidus, second was Belshazzar. This detail was disputed for decades. 19th century critics claimed Belshazzar never existed. When the cuneiform records mentioning his name appeared in the 20th century, it was one of the most dramatic archaeological confirmations of the historical reliability of the Book of Daniel. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin, the climax of the entire Babylon story. During the banquet, Belshazzar ordered the gold and silver vessels that Nebuchadnezzar had looted from the Jerusalem temple to be brought out, and used them to drink wine while praising the gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. At that moment, on the wall of the throne room, the hand appeared. Only the hand, without a visible body, writing 4 words in Aramaic. The Babylonian magicians were summoned. None could interpret. Daniel was brought in, refused the king's gifts, and offered his interpretation without hesitation. Mene, numbered. Your kingdom has come to an end. Tekel, weighed. You have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Peres, divided. Your kingdom has been given to the Medes and Persians. That same night, Belshazzar was killed, and Darius the Mede took the kingdom. The Chronicle of Nabonidus, a cuneiform document at the British Museum, describes the fall of Babylon to Cyrus in October 539 BC. Without significant battle, Cyrus's army entered through the diverted Euphrates River. The city fell from within. Daniel survived the regime change. That in itself is extraordinary. Darius appointed Daniel as one of 3 chief administrators over 120 satraps of the new empire. The other jealous officials searched for grounds against Daniel. They found none. His only point of vulnerability was his faith. They got the king to decree that no one could make petition to any god or man except the king for 30 days. Daniel, upon learning of the decree, went to his house and knelt 3 times a day and prayed, as he had done previously. This phrase is the heart of the story. Daniel did not make a political statement. He did not organize a protest. He simply kept doing what he had always done. The deepest resistance to tyranny is sometimes the simple continuity of practice. There is something the story of Daniel in Babylon teaches about power that modern leadership books still haven't articulated with the same clarity. The power that cannot corrupt you is the only power that lasts. Nebuchadnezzar ruled 43 years, and today is a name on museum tablets. The magicians and astrologers of Babylon, with all their intellectual sophistication, have left no name in history. Daniel served 70 years in the heart of the most corrupt power of the ancient world, and his text is read by millions of people every week in more than 100 languages. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was the smartest, but because he found something inside Babylon that Babylon could not touch. Babylon still exists. It just has different lapis lazuli gates and different gold statues, and the same question still awaits an answer. What is there inside you that the system cannot buy? See you in the next one.